Good morning, afternoon, evening. My name is Carmen Campoy, and I come from the University Jaume I in Spain. And the title of my presentation is Implementing Dictionary Skills in the Language Classroom. Okay, what are the two main ideas behind my presentation? One is the definition of dictionary skills, and the other one is how these dictionary skills may be applied to a teaching and learning and teaching environment. Dictionary skills has three main points for me. One is the definition. Dictionary skills defined as the ability to use dictionaries to learn about a language or more than one language. The other idea is that skills can be defined, dictionary skills can be defined with descriptors of what learners or dictionary users can do with one or more dictionaries. And finally, that dictionary skills can be assessed. So when I go to the language classroom environment, I want to be aware that dictionaries can be used as self-learning tools, that they are part of language learning instruction, and that dictionary types and usage may be related to different language proficiency levels. When I talk about dictionary use instruction, we can consider different types of instruction: self-instruction, face-to-face, homework, remote instruction for the practice of dictionary skills. And finally, dictionary skills tasks can be related to the different dictionaries and their affordances, the different multimodal dictionaries in the electronic context. So when we work with online dictionaries, we can work with all the possible linguistic information that we have in paper dictionaries, but also other resources such as audio, video, moving images, links to other sources that we may find in online resources. Why is the idea of multimodal lexicography important? Well, it's important for teachers because they need to be able to evaluate dictionary quality in terms of user-friendliness for their learners, and also because they need to design dictionary skill tasks for language learning and they can only do that if they know the multimodal affordances of the dictionaries they are using, that they select for their syllabuses. On the part of the learner, they need to be able to locate information in the electronic resource that is relevant to their information needs. Also, learners need to understand different spatial and visual resources that can help them locate information easily in a multimodal context, and they need to be able to interpret information provided in the different communicative modes that they find in online dictionaries. So, having said that, online multimodal dictionaries are presented in this presentation as a means to learn a language, and because of that they need to be aligned with a national or regional curriculum. If they are included there, they can be included in the syllabus in a proper manner, and it is also important, in order to include dictionary skills in the syllabus, to use a specific language proficiency framework to situate the different dictionary skills at different proficiency levels. It doesn't matter which language framework we are using, but we need to use some language proficiency framework, so that we can relate dictionary skills to that framework. So how are dictionary skills related to language skills? In order to illustrate this, I will be presenting examples using the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, but any other framework could be used. Okay, so how are dictionary skills taught? Which dictionary skill can we teach? If we think about the main four skills when learning a language: speaking, writing, reading, listening, we can focus on a specific skill, be it for developing productive or receptive activities. We could choose, for example, the writing skill, and we could focus on checking verb patterns or choosing specific collocations for a word. If we select writing skills and we focus on choosing the right collocation, How do we include dictionary skills within this idea? The first thing is that we need to locate how that particular ability is located in the language proficiency framework. In the case of the European framework, we can find two descriptors for different levels to show how this is done. For example, the B2 level, which is an intermediate level, when talking about vocabulary range, says that an intermediate B2 learner can produce appropriate collocations of many words in most contexts fairly systematically. And if we look at the C1 writing accuracy descriptor, that would be an advanced level. It says that learners at this level should consistently maintain a high degree of grammatical accuracy with occasional errors in grammar, collocations, and idioms. How do we transfer that into dictionary skills? Well, what you have below in the slide, in B2, we could translate that into the ability to attempt to interpret dictionary information about collocations, though the dictionary user may sometimes be able to interpret this information only partially. If we find a C1 descriptor, we could say that the dictionary user could be able to interpret dictionary information about collocations. Let's try to rephrase this idea. So what we have is first a dictionary skill that we want to practice, and a B2 student, an intermediate student. The description would be the descriptor for the dictionary skill of being able to work with collocations, that the learner can attempt to interpret dictionary information about collocations, though may sometimes be able to interpret this information only partially. How do we relate this to writing skills? Well, by practicing and consolidating this dictionary skill that we have just described above, students will improve their linguistic competence and will be able to improve their writing skills when requested to produce the appropriate collocations of many words in most contexts fairly systematically. We can expand the idea behind this B2 descriptor, dictionary skill descriptor. When we say that a student can attempt to interpret collocation information, sometimes only partially, we imply that the learner needs to understand the concept of collocation, needs to know where to find collocational information in a dictionary or more than one dictionary. And for example, in the images here that come from the Longman and the Macmillan dictionaries, we have a screenshot of how they look like. So for the Longman dictionary, you have the collocational box. So you need to know that if you're using the Longman dictionary, you'll find the information there. In Macmillan, you have the bold letter type phrases exemplifying collocations, and also the Explore Collocations button that would take you to the extended information on collocations that is also arranged grammatically. And the learner finally needs to be able to interpret this collocational information. So that would be how the descriptor works. So all in all, the dictionary skills scenario would look like this. We are going to use dictionary skills in an educational context, but there are institutional and individual resources that are going to determine how we do that. And we also need to determine which are the aims or the outcomes of teaching dictionary skills in a particular context, educational context. Within the criteria that we need to bear in mind is that we need to define proficiency levels for dictionary skills, and we need to know how to measure the achievement of these levels, because we are understanding dictionary skills as enabling language development. And we will need to develop methodological resources. So we need to ask ourselves how to teach dictionary skills, the kind of instruction that we're going to provide on dictionary skills. And for that, we will need to design and implement programs, what to teach, what dictionary skills to teach, why, when, how, and what for. And once this is decided, we will need to design and implement task types, so particular dictionary skill tasks in using different dictionaries. In the long term, the goal would be that dictionary skills would lead to language learning autonomy in a working environment or for long life learning. So let me give you a few examples of dictionary skill tasks. They are all designed using the Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English. So this is the first example. This is a very easy task where the learners are asked to correct the mistakes highlighted in the sentences. Which would be the descriptors, the dictionary skill descriptors for this task? Well, the learner should be able to decide what to look up and where, and the appropriate form or lookup item. They should be able to interpret the basic typographical conventions, in this case the syntax for these sentences, for the highlighted items. They should be able to understand dictionary microstructure, in this case grammatical patterns, and finally be able to apply the findings to the writing purposes. The purpose of this task would be to correct mistakes. Another example is this one. Students are asked which adverbs would you use with the verb treat to say how someone treated another person. So this is also a very simple task where the students need to decide what to look up and where, how to interpret the typographical conventions and symbols, and they should be able to understand this particular dictionary microstructure, identify or locate collocation boxes, and interpret the usage information that is provided by means of, for example, examples of use in this case. Another example would be this task where the students are asked to write a sentence using the word drop with the meaning stop talking about something. They are also instructed not to copy the sentences from the dictionary, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. Which would be the descriptors for this task? At B2 level, students must interpret basic typographical conventions and symbols, in this case related to word sense. They should be able to attempt to interpret definitions and syntactic information, though sometimes they would not do this perfectly well. And they should be able to attempt to understand and interpret examples and apply these examples to their own text production. So what you can see here is the exact place where in the Longman Dictionary you can find this word sense for the word drop with the examples that are provided. And here you have some of my students' responses, so that you can see how this worked with my students. So one of them wrote the sentence, "Can you drop?" Another one wrote the sentence, "The conversation about feminism dropped because we are very disagree." Another one wrote, "Drop your mouth, please." That would be related to the Spanish "Shut your mouth, cállate la boca," which would then be translated with the word drop instead of shut. Another student copied the example, so this will be a correct answer, and they simply changed the name of a person in the example. So the dictionary says Julius dropped the subject, and the student says Alba dropped the subject. And finally, another student wrote the sentence, "My boyfriend always asks me about my best friend, and I tell him to drop it." So as you can see, 5 different students and 5 different levels of ability. Some of the sentences are successful, some are not unsuccessful. So whether the students have a B2 level for this particular descriptor would be seen in the responses that they provided for this task. Another example could be this one. This is not a writing or a reading task per se. This particular question is designed to see whether the dictionary users know what the different typographical conventions are used for. So here you see an example for the word sense in the Longman Dictionary, and for the verb structure. So the questions are simply what is this format or this typography? What is this used for? What does it mean? So this question can be used for checking whether the dictionary users know the dictionary's conventions. Now we have seen an item-focused task. Remember the writing a sentence with the word drop and the meaning stop talking about something. But we can also develop a more complex task, system-focused task, where we can focus on different issues, different ideas. So let me show you an example of what this could look like. Now here we have an example of a task where the students are first asked to write a short text explaining the meaning of the word crime. Okay, so they write their own text without using the dictionary. In the second part of the task, they are asked to to use the dictionary, the Longman dictionary, and examine the entry for the word crime. So when they do this, this is how the entry looks like. That's the entry for crime. And they're asked to examine all the information that they can find there. And how they got grammar information, they have examples, they have collocational boxes with different grammatical category collocations, phrases that are created with the word crime, and the thesaurus with a wide range of information. So they are asked to examine all this information and to note down all the different types of information that they can see, how there are different typographical devices, the colors that show different types of information, and they should note down the information that they think is important from this entry. Then they are asked to pay attention to the topic of crime in the dictionary, and this is an option that the Longman dictionary has. So when you go to the entry for crime, for example, you can also access the topic entry, which looks like this. What you can find is a word cloud, where you can see many words that are dictionary entries around the topic of crime. So the students are asked to examine this word cloud for the topic of crime, and simply find out about the words that they find interesting, and simply pay attention to the information in some of the entries that they decide to check, and they can do that by clicking any of the words in the word cloud for the topic of crime. So as I said, they are asked to pay attention to the topic crime, and the question that they are asked is which of these words did you include in your short text that you wrote at the beginning of the task, which ones were not there and you would like to have them there because you think they are important words. And then they are requested to note down the information or the words that they find relevant for their studies, for their degree. In this case, these are criminology ESP students. And they are asked to reformulate the original text and present the same idea again, what is crime, what is criminology, by expanding the vocabulary range and depth. They are, of course, also asked not to copy dictionary entries, dictionary examples in full. So, to sum up, what I've done in this presentation is to explain the relationship between language skill descriptors and dictionary skills. I've shown dictionary skill descriptors apply to the use of a specific dictionary, and provided dictionary skill tasks that can be assessed using dictionary skill descriptors to highlight what learners with a particular language proficiency level can do. So, and these are some of the books, some of the readings that I have used for this presentation, the bibliography. And that's the end of my presentation. So thank you.